Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review DOTA, Dragon's Blood. And this is based off of the video game Defenders of the Ancients, and we have dragons and knights and all kinds of magical creatures and beings all thrown in, going after this strange occurrence where a dragon knight fuses with an older dragon, and that doesn't sound like it should be a good thing, so people are mad and are trying to stop it. And what we have here is this big fantastical world of fantasy based off of this video game, which I've never played Dota, and it sounded familiar, but I didn't know what it stood for. I had to look that up, honestly. I've never really played a whole lot of big fantasy, like MMORPGs and stuff like that. So I wasn't too familiar with this. I know there's a lot of big games like Skyrim and stuff like that, like Elder Scrolls, obviously, that you're able to play with these big fantasy worlds. And this is another one of those Netflix anime that mostly feels like an anime, but still kind of feels like American animation. And there's been quite a few of these projects that have come out. They had the one with the ancient Greece, and they've had ones with the Seven Sins and stuff like that. They're doing a lot of these kinds of animated series based off of the same kind of animation, and it's cool, it's slick, it's edgy, and I like it. They do a lot of great things with it. They're really... Oh, and they had the whole Pacific Rim series as well, so they're pumping out a lot of different kinds of things like this. I feel like this series, Dragon's Blood, feels very much like, do you like fantasy? You're going to like this. If fantasy's not your biggest thing, I don't know if this exactly does anything particularly new or unique in a way that's really going to make it stand out for you. This wasn't my favorite of these series. Honestly, it wasn't. It's on the lower end of some of these Netflix new anime series that they're coming out with. But I feel like in general, it still handles plenty of great action. There's suspense. The voice casting is really good. You have that mix of heroic kind of characters and these dark evil things, and what you would expect from a fantasy epic kind of thing. And you have all of that going on. It's fun, it's exciting. You have these different characters dealing with different things, like this knight who's confronted with the fact that it's fused with a dragon, and it's that puts him in a new place and has to come to grips with this. You have all these other kinds of creatures and beings that are coming after them. You have one particular character who's really connected with this very powerful mythical being. Who is she really doing what's honoring this being or not? And you have those... There's a lot of moving pieces here. That's a tricky thing too. A lot of fantasy series, and it's... You have to do a lot of world building. You have to set up a lot of things. You have to do a lot of explaining. There's usually a lot of characters with a lot of situations, with a whole lot of backstories. And this series has to do a lot of that heavy lifting, setting the groundwork. These are only 22-minute episodes, and 8 episodes at that. It's... Or was it 10 episodes? Might have been 10 episodes. But nonetheless, it's still a lot of fantasy jargon, fantasy mythos, just trying to set things up. Obviously, if you've probably played these games before, you have a little bit more background. I do not, so I didn't know much about this. It did just come off as it's a fun, exciting, and vibrant kind of fantasy world that does a lot of fantasy things, but nothing that really stood out and was unique. This isn't the next Lord of the Rings. This isn't as shallow and disappointing like Aragon, But it definitely feels like it has its trappings, it has its cliches, but it has a lot of fun with it and delivers some great action and awesome animation. So, in general, I think if you're into anime, you like fantasy series and stories, I think you'll have a lot of fun with DOTA Dragon's Blood. But if it's not really your thing, I don't think this is going to be the one that's going to grab your attention and really pull you in. But those are my thoughts on DOTA Dragon's Blood. Let me know what you think. Now let's talk some TV. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.